Let's move on to other ground reports. Northern areas of the capital Kyiv have now been devastated completely by the Russian attacks. Many residents have fled since the time the invasion started, but now to some level, life is starting to return. Remember, it's been 32 days already. What do these cities really look like now? In this report. With day 33, Russia has now also continued to attack key Ukrainian cities, including deadlier missiles. That under the phase 2, as it can be called, of the invasion, which means villages near Kyiv city are in complete ruins, intense shelling by Russian troops. In Kherson, take a look at these multiple cities that we are showing to you. Russian forces are using in Kherson smoke grenades to disperse protesters against Russian invasion. For example, even in Mariupol, there is only death, destruction, despair. And that after 6th round of talks to broker a middle ground and end the war. The talks will be held in Turkey, and the second such talks will be hosted, remember, by Ankara. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused the West of lacking courage as his country fights to stave off Russia's military might. Zelensky is now alleging that the West is playing ping-pong over how and who should deliver the fighter jets to Ukraine as Ukraine continues to fight with 33 days against Russians. This comes as Ukraine alleged that Russia wants to divide Ukraine into two parts, install a puppet government in the occupied area. Ukraine has added that the resistance will grow into total guerrilla warfare and derail Russia's plan to successfully have a proxy government instead.
Попереду і новий раунд переговорів, бо ми шукаємо миру, реально, без затягування. Як мені доповіли, є можливість і потреби для очної зустрічі вже на території Туреччини. Це непогано. Подивимось на результат. Наші пріоритети у переговорах відомі. Суверенітет, територіальна цілісність України не підлягають сумніву. Дієві гарантії безпеки для нашої держави обов'язкові. Очевидна і наша мета – мир і якнайшвидше відновлення нормального життя в рідній нашій державі. І сьогодні той день, коли знову і знову переконуюсь, наскільки далеко ми від Російської Федерації. Уявіть, вони там в Москві переполошилися через моє інтерв'ю російським журналістам, тим із них, хто може дозволити собі говорити правду. Коли журналісти вже готувалися до публікації нашого інтерв'ю, ми говорили з ними сьогодні в день, російське цензурне відомство вийшло з погрозами. Так і написали, вимагають відмовитись від публікації розмови. Це було б смішно, якби не було б так трагічно. Знищили свободу слова в своїй державі, намагаються зруйнувати сусідню державу. Зображають себе глобальним гравцем, а самі при цьому бояться відносно короткої розмови з кількома журналістами. Що ж, якщо така реакція, значить ми все правильно робимо, значить вони нервують.
As the Russian forces are now pushing further into the center of the port city of Mariupol, half of its population has already left. The port city has been laid to waste by Russian heavy weapons. Whole neighborhood appears to be now not even recognized because remember, there has been relentless artillery fire since late February. Ukraine has accused Russia of forcibly relocating thousands of civilians from Mariupol. Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister Iryna Vereshchuk has said 40,000 had been moved from Mariupol to Russian-held territory without any coordination with the capital city, Kyiv. According to media reports emerging from the ground, there are no undamaged buildings now in Mariupol. About 3,500 people have been killed, thousands injured. Ukraine's president accusing Russian forces of deliberately targeting civilians, including by bombing an art school on Sunday, where hundreds of women, children, elderly had taken shelter. So why is Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, obsessed with Mariupol, specifically in Ukraine? This is why. Take a look. Mariupol becomes the gateway to the Sea of Azov, which is controlling, which means Mariupol in many ways will be the domination over Sea of Azov. Mariupol also is just 50 kilometers from the Russian border, so is closest to the country, and is also just 85 kilometers from Russian-held Donetsk and also from Lugansk. Putin therefore wants Ukraine to surrender Mariupol, and that will help Putin extend dominance from Crimea on one side, and the port city, already having witnessed brutal assault, war crimes, is really in an unrecognizable condition. Let's take a look at another city in Ukraine. This is the western city of Lviv, acted as a safe haven for now for the Ukrainians fleeing the war, but now has become the latest target of Russian airstrikes. Multiple missile attacks have rocked the city at a time. When US President Joe Biden was in Poland, he was just 400 kilometers away from the Russian ongoing missile strikes.
Russia's offensive in Ukraine has moved to an even deadlier phase. The assault is moving from the east, close to Russian border, to the far west city, Lviv, bordering NATO member Poland. The largest city in western Ukraine was once bustling, providing safe haven for hundreds of thousands of people fleeing the war, raging in the troubled eastern parts. But is no longer the safe zone, immune from Russian airstrikes. In the last 24 hours, the city witnessed one of the fiercest attacks that Western Ukraine has experienced by far. 2 rockets struck a fuel depot on the city's eastern outskirts, and 2 rockets later hit a military factory. Followed by high-precision cruise missiles striking an infrastructure facility. Russia showing clear indications that it has expanded the war theater. The chilling images on your screen capture the panic that gripped the city as missiles rained in. Citizens ran for their lives as they watched the deadly smoke engulfing the region. Civilians huddled inside bunker to escape the wrath of Putin's ferocious assault.
We were sitting in our car for a couple of minutes, and then we heard this very loud, I don't know how to say it, when rocket just came. After a couple of seconds, maybe 30 seconds, second bombing, and everyone left to the shelters.
The attacks had caused significant damage to infrastructure facilities, blowing out windows at a local school, leading to widespread destruction. The attack on the western city came exactly at a time US President Joe Biden was just across in Poland. The US President was exactly at a distance of only 400 kilometers from the site where Putin's missile hit.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. Let us resolve to put the strength of democracies into action to thwart the designs of autocracy. Let us remember that the test of this moment is the test of all time.
Rescue teams are having their hands full, spending all night extinguishing raging fire and minimizing fallout of the attacks, which raged a fuel shortage, leading the massive flames.
In the fog of war, it is unclear on day 32 if Ukraine is able to strike back and hard at the Russian strongholds. Ukraine has also insisted it's mounted a series of counterattacks in the Kherson region in the south, and that is where the Russians have completely cut off Ukraine from the Sea of Azov and the Black Sea. From Mariupol to Kherson, the Russians once again trying to consolidate their position even as Ukraine's forces try to strike back. With cameraman Lalit Mohan Joshi in Lviv, Ukraine, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.
Meanwhile, India Today spoke to Ukrainian Member of Parliament Sofia Fedena. Listen into this exclusive conversation and what the MP has to say.
What's the hope that Ukrainians have at this point after a month long of war? Greetings to everyone from Ukraine, and I just also have been to Kiev, and I also have been a few days ago to the front line. And I would say that far away from Kiev, from the other cities, from the front line, everything seems to be more scary than inside. But when you are in Kiev, you feel the strength of Ukrainian army that is protecting the capital, and the people who remain in Kiev are very strong and they are helping the army. So there is no panic, and everyone is working for the victory. Second point, that's the rockets, the ballistic missiles, the Moscow Federation is shelling the capital today. And day before yesterday, my native city of Lviv, nearby Polish border. Yesterday, it was the city of Lutsk. These are caliber rockets that are being launched from Sevastopol, from occupied and annexed Crimea. And primarily, they are trying to reach the oil stations, the fuel stations, and they are trying to reach, as they think, military objects, but usually they shoot into civilian infrastructure. In Kiev yesterday, they started to shoot with caliber, and there were big bombing in the suburbs of Kiev. Today morning, as I know, this is anti-aircraft system of Ukraine is working hardly to stop the enemy rockets. What we can assume, first of all, we know that Moscow Federation has approximately 1,700 missiles. Right. As we know, 1,200 have already been used. So we hope that they do not have more missiles than it was stated officially. Then Ukraine can survive. The second point is that Moscow Federation shelling different cities of Ukraine is not intended to go into any negotiations. And the negotiations that are being kind of held, that means that they just try to keep time to get stronger and to rearrange the forces. The next point is, as I've been to the front line, what I have seen on the south of Ukraine, first of all, the people who live already in liberated villages and cities, they really support Ukrainian army, and they really accuse the Moscow army about this intervention. And what our soldiers say, that Moscow soldiers, Moscow army, they don't want to get into the real fight when they see each other. And when the Moscow soldiers see Ukrainians, they just escape. And that is one of the signs that Moscow is quite weak. Therefore, we have to find more resources and mechanisms to get from the Moscow invasion.
And India Today is the only channel reporting from Ukraine to Russia, bringing you both sides of the war. And our foreign affairs editor, Geeta Mohan, is the only Indian journalist in the border area of Donetsk. Here's our exclusive ground report. Take a look.
We're right here in the Donetsk city, and we can hear sounds of explosion. There you hear it, sounds of explosion that's taking place not so far away from here, but in the outskirts. In some time from now, we will be reporting from there, but certainly a worry for people, most of them inside. If you see the city, if Satya can show you, hardly any people around, no people, and the fact that there are massive explosions here. President Putin had said that the military operations over here will intensify, and from the day we arrived here, we certainly hear more sounds of explosion. With video journalist Satya Rautre, in Donetsk, Geeta Mohan for India Today.
And with war into 33rd day, Ukraine is fighting, remember, a two-front war. What does that mean? One with the Russian invasion forces, the other with Russian-backed rebels in Donetsk. They are calling themselves the Donetsk People's Republic. This is a separatist region which is pitted against Ukrainian rule. This report coming up is by India Today's foreign affairs editor Geeta Mohan from Donetsk. Ukraine is fighting a two-front war, one with Russian invasion forces and the other with Russian-backed rebels of Donetsk, who call themselves the Donetsk People's Republic, a separatist region which is pitted against the Ukraine rule. As Ukrainians battle it out against Russian aggression, images from southeastern Ukraine tell a different story. India today visited this rebel stronghold of Donetsk to find strong support for Russian President Vladimir Putin and his invasion. In Donetsk, most cars were seen with pro-Russia Z signs. The anti-Ukrainian sign is a call for independence from Ukraine.
Z denotes independence. Russia and the breakaway factions of Donbas region, Donetsk, what they call Donetsk People's Republic, DPR, are together fighting the Ukrainians. And the two signs that they use are signs that Ukraine also recognizes distinctly as being anti-Ukraine, which is V for victory and Z for independence. In Donetsk, you will not see a lot of V signs, you'll see Z. Why? Because the call is for independence. So a lot of cars over here that you see have the Z sign, only saying that they do not want to remain with Ukraine, they want independence.
Russian supporters in downtown Donetsk were also seen paying homage to the lives lost in the Tochka-U missile attack carried out by the Ukrainians on 14th March. More than 20 people were allegedly killed in the attack, which left marks of shelling on residential buildings.
This is the building that got hit, and I'll show you. This is where it landed. 20 people were killed. That's the memory. That's the memory of the people whose lives were lost. And the entire building over here, you can see the marks of shelling. If you see, there are marks of shelling everywhere in the building.
Lately, it's noted that the attacks are even more frequent than before. I talked with some military personnel, and it's totally speculative what I'm going to say. But one possible explanation is that Ukrainian troops, which are stationed in Donetsk, or near Donetsk right now, it's possibly more than 50,000 of them. So it's a huge troop, and possibly they are sending the sort of a message.
The Moscow-backed separatists have ruled the Donbas region for 8 years now. Russia is now using them as tools to gain upper hand in the invasion war.
Will there be a ceasefire? Will there be an end to war? Can there be negotiations where both sides' demands are met and kept? We'll be reporting on that. With which journalist Satya Rautre in Donetsk, Geeta, Mohan.
So remember, with 33 days on, it will now only be about the negotiations in Turkey that could put an end to the multi-city and for multi-days the situation that has been unfolding there in Ukraine. Whether it's Mariupol, whether it is Kyiv even, the situation is getting bad to us. And just after a very short break, I'll be getting you all the latest in other stories as well, but leaving you with these visuals. This is Putin's Ukraine invasion into day 33. Across different cities, whether it is the aerial strikes, the kamikaze missiles, the drones, all of that is being used against Ukraine to ensure that it eventually decides to agree to what Russia wants.